who had their branches in India. So the contribution of Indian pharmaceutical industry was practically nil. It's only after the CSIR started developing the national laboratories, they established small research and development, first in the National Chemical Laboratory, then a full-fledged Central Drug Research Institute at Lucknow, and later on regional research laboratories in several places, including Hyderabad. They started doing some research and development. But the pharmaceutical industry in India did not grow from research and development. It actually grew because of some other reason, a totally different reason. The Patents Act. In India, we adopted the Patent Act from the British, which was highly favorable to the multinationals and not favorable at all to India. It was in 1970, the Patent Act was amended very substantially and gave no possibility for patenting a new compound, a new drug, but only process can be patented. So the product patent was removed from the Indian Patent Act, and then suddenly the Indian pharmaceutical industry grew. Because they could manufacture any compound discovered by anybody anywhere in the world for the consumption in India. And that is how our pharmaceutical industry grew so very well. Today, the pharmaceutical industry is able to challenge almost anyone in the world. Today's our product is more than a few thousands of crores in India. 80% of Indian product comes from Indian companies. Hardly 20% comes from multinational companies. Although many of the discovery drugs are still from abroad, that is multinationals, we have now come to a level that the multinationals, and including the FDA, US, TGA from Australia, or the European Regulatory Affairs, they have all recognized the quality of the Indian pharmaceutical industry. They are able to purchase or allow the import of not only the APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients, or what you call bulk drugs earlier, but also the dosage forms from India, made in India, in Indian firms, to be imported into these countries, including USA. Because of the quality. Of course, the price is certainly one factor, but without the quality, it would not have been possible. And some of the Indian pharmaceutical machinery made in India are imported into this country also. So to that level we have reached. So if you ask for a level, we have really achieved a great thing. Of course, now the Patent Act has been amended in 2005. We were required to do it, and now you cannot simply manufacture any drug discovered by anybody else in the world if there is a patent. So that is a little tricky problem, but in that is where the new path starts. We have to discover drugs now. Till now, we were discovering processes where we have done a very good job. Excellent processes, chemical processes, biological processes, very good. Now we have to start also discovering drugs. A small beginning has been made. Ranbaxy particularly and Dr. Reddy's have already contributed a couple of discovery compounds. They are picking up, but that is not sufficient. Unfortunately, our national laboratories like the CDRI, although they have discovered quite a few drugs, only a couple of them have been able to come to the marketable level and acceptable elsewhere in the world. In spite of that, because of the compulsion of the Indian Indian Patent Act, I'm sure we are going to rise up to that challenge also. But that is where I should point out there is relevance in Mohan's question. What do we have to do to come to the next level? Our weakness is in our education. Unfortunately, we have not given enough stress to the basic sciences which have to be very strong in order that we may be able to contribute to the discovery level. It will take some more time. Beginning has been made. There are already areas like biotechnology, nanotechnology, genomics. These are some of the areas where we should expect some amount of discovery drugs being contributed from India. And in order that that should happen, these basic sciences have to be very much stressed upon. Once these are stressed upon and they become strong in the schools, then it is possible. There is one other aspect which has been weak in India, that is the academic research has been unfortunately a little too stringent. It has not been application oriented. The application oriented fundamental discovery can come only in the universities. In fact, it is believed that the universities are treasures for knowledge. Unfortunately, what I have noticed is that most of the time the industry is having the latest knowledge, but the universities do not have, just because they ignore what is happening in the world in terms of basic work. It's only in pockets you will find it, like the Indian Institute of Science or the Indian Institute of Technology or a couple of other universities. But in vast majority, it is sort of a mill, produce more and more graduates or whatever. And the type of work that is going on at the postgraduate level or even at the doctorate level are not yet to that level. That is where we have got to take to the higher level. So unless we have a vision of looking forward 20 years hence approximately and see what we can do for that, how we can prepare our graduates, postgraduates and doctorates in order to perceive that and find out a path for themselves. That is the level. How to do it? I don't think there is a possibility of spelling out details because the growth is too fast. It is very difficult to imagine what may happen even 5 years hence. That means the universities have to be alert all the time and keep on changing very fast. Only then there is a possibility of catching up or rather overtaking and then achieve something. So, in spite of whatever I have told, I am outdated. You are much more closer to the reality. It's not possible for us, or my age people, to imagine everything and guide. So just because age, you need not put people in some places, key places. You should always have an open mind and as young a mind as possible to see something very new, something which we cannot imagine and something which requires totally different approach. So that is where we should change. Wherever there is a possibility of introducing an alert young mind, do so. That is another possibility of opening up something new. So I have just touched upon something in a sort of a random manner from whatever experience I have gained through the ages. But certainly I am not competent to speak on this to a level that can give any direction. Thank you very much, Mohan, and for giving me this opportunity to be present here and share a few thoughts with all of you. As I mentioned earlier, I am very happy to see so many of you have achieved great levels, and I only wish that you will go on, keep on, and pass it on if possible to your next generation. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. It was so great and crystal clear as usual. I was just reminded about his classes and teachings 35 years ago. It is still the same, crystal clear, the message.